Hey everyone, hope you are having a good weekend. And surprise, it's another impromptu Hatter's Chop Shop episode. This time starring, of course, a special guest and sponsor of this episode, Ultronimus of Ultronimus Gaming. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm fine. How are you?
I am good. I just got the kiddo down for a nap. I've got, a 50% complete real grade
Yes.
justice here, generously provided by you. And we've got the other sponsor of our video is or our stream I should say is Gundam Explained. Adam over there provided the mat on which we are building. So yeah, it's going to be a fun show today. We are definitely going to finish. I'm committed to finishing this kit today. So I'm not going to gild the lily.
Good.
We are going to dive straight into it. But I think we have some exciting things to talk about today. And actually, you know what? I do have to apologize because um you know what I just realized is I forgot to update something is and if the new uh patrons hop into the chat, obviously they will shame me about this
Oh,
because we have two new Patreon members that I need to add to the thank you stream going wrong along the bottom. So let me do that real quick before we get too far into the episode. But while I do that, Ultronimus, why don't you share with us the exciting news that just dropped this morning? It's been all the rage. You and I were going to be more productive today, but instead we've been on Discord arguing about things for the past 2 hours or so.
yeah. The Gundam Assemble, the mini game that looks really, really cool. Like I think before the stream they added a little bit more information about it. I saw you post something about that.
Yeah, they have been they've been kind of like slow releasing more and more information just kind of as the day has gone on. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that they've got the Bandai card game, um, you know, uh, what do they even call it? It's like the Bandai card game festivals going on in Orlando, I think this weekend. So a lot of these things are being announced. Actually, if you look on Twitter, they posted an image of the booth at the Orlando card game festival, and so you can actually see like the minis and everything. Which technically they're not even minis, right? They're actually Gunpla kits.
Yeah, like really, really tiny gunpla.
Yeah,
I really like that actually because it's fitting and it's cute.
I mean, I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, cool. Okay, so everything's looking good. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited about it, and especially because it's a model kit that is appropriate to my skill level, being that it's just like an arm, a leg, and like, and that's kind of what I've always wanted
I
anyway.
mean,
Are like kit
you all
cards.
right. I think that'd be cool. And hey, if they do more of these, you could do more like super quick build streaks, like just you know how like some people do like the opening a bunch of booster packs is just you building like your whole team in like one day.
Yeah, and I can get back to things that I enjoy doing, which is like painting miniatures. Well, I don't want to say that I enjoy doing. It's not that I enjoy doing that. It's like because I'm working on Gunpla, I don't get to do, like, mini painting, but, like, this has it's the combination of 2 of my favorite hobbies, right?
Yeah, it crosses the stream in a good way.
Exactly. So, yes,
Like
as mentioned, we are, working on the real grade, Justice Gundam here, and I've got my mat set up. It's a little messy now because I've got, like, kits and things, propped up. I did wanna highlight this is something that I started doing last stream, and it occurred to me that I should have taken more care with doing it. So, I was just doing this with a, standard this is like a sewing needle. You could probably only see it because of the reflection of the light. Um, but yeah, so what I will typically do when building kits, well, at least nowadays, is I like to rescribe the existing panel lines to get them a little bit deeper, so that when we go in with the Tamiya panel line accents, it has something to flow into, and it kind of gives you much more deeper grooves and everything. But I should have mentioned that one of my favorite new tools, and shout out to my older brother for providing this. This was a Christmas present last year. Is a pin vise, because not only can you use it for drill bits, like
Oh,
we've got a handful of drill bits over here. You can use it for screwdriver bits. So like I've got some mini screwdrivers here. I was trying to repair my Nintendo Switch the other day, but you can also use the sewing needle,
oh,
right? So what I do is I try to get it as low in there as we can, so that we have just a little bit of space to work with, and it just gives you something a little bit beefier to hold on to while you're getting in here and rescribing these lines. Which I encourage anybody to pick up that, like if panel lining and removing nub marks is like entry grade Gunpla customization, then rescribing the panel lines is like high grade. Obviously, scribing your own, that's master grade, but like just rescribing. But you've been building a lot recently.
oh, that seems really useful.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, this is super handy, and so like even.
Yes, because
But yeah, tell me about the builds that you've been working on lately.
yes, so I got more than I expected for Christmas. I got like 5 different kits. I got the Perfect Strike Gundam, which was cool and interesting since I have been getting the option pack to just make my own Perfect Strike Gundam. So I got to like compare the two while building, which was interesting. Um, I kind of like how the option parts it has the a lot of what is the sticker on the Perfect Strike is just painted on, so it kind of looks nicer. But I mean, it's also like this is a proper kit, so I can see why they would be like, okay, here's your sticker, or you can paint it yourself. One thing that actually, because it's on my desk, I can just actively show you.
Ah,
One
that's
thing that
convenient.
surprised me was the little gray. The gray is actually a sticker. You had to like curve around the torso, which I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I have not
Yes,
seen that in a
I
long
feel
time.
it makes sense.
Well, I mean, for example, the
Right, I because I think a lot of kids don't have.
what's that? Sorry.
You were saying.
Oh, no, no. I
You
thought
were
you cut out.
saying.
So, yeah, the waist sticker reminds me of the Mercurius and V8 that I was working on, before the holidays. Like the Mercurius and V8 have the like for the V8, it's the light blue waist sticker that wraps around, um, which is kind of it sucks because the waist actually has like grooves and panel lines carved into it, and so when you put the sticker over it, it kind of covers them up. But I assume that that is not the case on the Perfect Strike.
No, the Perfect Strike, it doesn't really do that.
Lives up
Most
to
of the
its
stickers
namesake.
are actually for the well, the hmm?
Oh, the Perfect Strike
Say
lives up
that
to its
again?
namesake. That was a bad joke.
Kinda, yeah. Like, most of the stickers were for like, most of the stuff was for its attachments, which really was nice because it's like, except for the shoulder. I hated doing the launcher strike shoulder because it's round and you're trying to like put it on, but it's curvy and it just I I don't like the others were fine, but that was just like, duh, that why'd you do that? Everything else is perfect though.
Well, that's good. That is good to know.
And yes, uh, Yes, and I can see why they made the option packs because this does not it can't attach to anything else. Like, if the way it attaches to the back, it can't be put into any other kits, which is sad because like, the way the launchers the cannon can turn, like, the joints they use for that is so nice, like, I can actually, like, move it and pose it better than the option pack.
Oh, really? Now, the option pack,
Yeah,
isn't that
like, it's
dedicated to, like, the entry grade strike, though? Or is it compatible with both the high grade and the
they say it's for entry grade. It can probably work with high grade as the 30-minute missions are basically high grades, and you can see it is in my auto perfectly fine.
There you go.
But
Perfect
that's
strike alto.
but you can tell they like really wanted it. Yeah, that second I saw they were selling those, I knew I had to get that. But like the other thing is you can tell it's still really meant for the entry grade, but I think the issue with the strikes is they use really interesting mechanics. Like the launcher and sword strikes, they don't actually like attach. You know how the strike shoulder has that little groove, like a almost like a rail you could hold on to. Like it snaps under that, and like no other kits have that. So it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
hey, you can use the two pegs in the back or hold the weapons, but those shoulders, you're gonna have to custom build or leave them.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that that's, like, kind of,
So,
it's just too, unique to the existing part. Alright. So we're building
yeah,
some side skirts here,
so
as
that
you can
does
see.
suck, but then again, I think ooh, fence? Ah, yeah. If you're slight side note, because you're doing the justice, I had the real great freedom. So if it's like that, then the most you will be doing will be when you get to the backpack.
Yeah, I can already tell that that is the case since the, um the backpack basically is all on these 2 runners, like so, like, 5
Oh, you
runners.
might be doing more than the freedom then. But, okay, so that was just the first kit that I got. The second I got because of you, or asked for because of you. The Jupiter because you keep talking about your core Zeta, and I was like, I don't have any core Gundams, and I don't know which one to get. So it's either gonna be Jupiter or Earth 3, and Jupiter 1 Santa.
Okay. So
And
why
this
did it come down to the Jupiter and Earth 3, if you don't mind me asking?
because I wanted something simple. They
Okay,
confused me with which one. Look, because I know some are just the armor, and these were the two that I knew would come with the core Gundam. So it's
true.
like I let's just play it safe. Either way, Santa gets something probably. So not gonna test my luck on Christmas Day.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, yeah, it's funny you mention that because when I was shopping around for a Core Gundam to base the Zeta on, I was between the Core Gundam 2 in the Titans colors, which is just a Core Gundam. It doesn't come with any of the armor sets, or like the Earth 3, which, as you know, comes with everything. What I ended up doing was I actually went to, my local hobby shop where the Bandai flagship store is, and the only Core Gundam that they had in stock was the Core Alice, which is like the bad guy version of the Core Gundam. And so I decided to get it because it was so unique compared to the other Core Gundams because like the feet have that like claw configuration. Um, so it provided some
Right.
interesting challenges with the Core Zeta, but like I think it also gave it a much more unique look than if I had gone with just a straight up Core Gundam. So
I can see
so that
that,
said,
yeah. Because
the
more
Alice
people
core
like
Gundam
being
also comes with both the core Gundam and the armor. So
I will add that to my list. Uh, but I like it. I just had to decide if I want to have it like this in the full version or separate because I have a weakness for fighters, and I'm like I really like the armor how it's just a fighter plane, and it came with two bases, so I can have both on display. But I'm like that is a question I will ask you later. But I have two down, three to go.
that's
The
awesome.
second, which is surprising, the Lightning Buster. As much as I love the Buster Gundam, I can't believe this is the very first time I got any version of it.
I know. That's awesome. And
Yes, and it
how
looks
was that
so
build
cool.
experience?
Uh, it was interesting. It was one of the new seed kits, so it has like the torso that could kind of flex a bit. So that was kind of a bit weird at first to get used to, but I like how it makes them more posable.
Yeah.
Um, I don't like the little handle guns though. That part I'm not a fan of.
Oh, really?
It's like,
What's
okay, I keep forgetting I have this right here. So like, they have this. Wait. There it goes. This little thing. They have a different head that makes it so it's like he always has his arms at the side so he can hold those, but they're
right.
so close to the body that it's really hard to bend his arms in a way to actually grab onto it. So,
Yeah.
like, you had to have it slightly at an angle outward for him to actually grab it, and it's like,
Yeah, that doesn't work.
I get it, but, like, that doesn't really work outside of the movie.
I do wish sometimes that,
But
model kits would come with, like, unit specific, appendages and, like, things to in order to recreate, those types of moments from the show, right? Like, I'm trying to think of a good
right,
example. I mean,
and
that would be a good
that's
example.
I'd say the classic Strike Gundam pose when he has like the arm extended fully outward with the legs doing the cool pose, but it's like no kid's arms or legs move like that. You
No.
could get close, but you're never gonna actually replicate that pose.
No, absolutely not.
But speaking of poses, I do like the big guns. They can go as like over the shoulder or under, like the old Buster. But it
Ver
is funny because these don't have handles, so, like, in the pictures and everything, his arms are just hovering over it like it's holding it, but it's not. It's just for the look.
everything is a trade-off.
So that's funny. Yeah, like, it's not bad, it's just funny.
Yeah.
Um, the one the one I finished most recently is naturally, at long last, The Rising Freedom, which
Very nice.
it's so awesome. I love it. I like the shield is like really flexible because it's on a ball joint, and I liked how a lot of the stickers were to get the white on the wings, which I think look really nice.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously my, favorite mobile suit being the Zeta, I have to deal with, sticker wings a lot, as you might imagine. Let me make sure I'm doing this right.
Yeah,
I do believe that this is correct.
don't let the banter distract you too much.
Um, but yeah, so those ones, they didn't, like, have to wrap around or anything like that, did they? Like the wing stickers? They
Not
just kind of go on the
as
front?
not as much. Okay, so the way they work is like they do have the flat part, but near the edges they curve over a tiny bit. So both stickers on the inside and outside will kind of meet at the middle. But that space is so small, it's not nearly as noticeable as like the circle on the launcher strike shoulder or like I had one, but I lost it. You know stuff. It's not as noticeable. I'll just put it like that. It's such a small space. It's fine.
Yeah, because that's
Um,
my big
it
complaint
was
with like the
hard to
Zeta
put
kits.
on because they're so bloody thick.
Oh yeah,
Hmm?
it's like very flimsy and kind of like easy to get wrapped around.
Yeah, they're so thick.
If it works, what I
Yeah,
might end up
sorry,
doing.
I talked over you.
No, no, you're fine. I think it's probably I'm getting like a little bit of chat delay, so that's on my end. But yeah, what I might end up doing is not even
Yeah,
using the Justice backpack, but instead using this Kotobukiya. Um, I bought it because it looks like the Zeta backpack, but kind of the wings fold out much larger. I haven't found a
I thought
good
that
use
was a
for it.
Zeta backpack just without the big thing.
Yeah,
That is just straight up Zeta.
it's hashtag copyright infringement right here because that is like Zeta wings, and then it doesn't like fold under the way that the Zetas do. I think it's designed to kind of like flip completely over, and then you've got like the Wave Rider mode with the wings outspread like that. So I don't know, but
Yeah,
I saw
that's
it was on my desk, so I was like, well, we're just gonna have that there as a little piece of inspiration, and if anything comes up.
we take those. And the last, and actually my favorite of all the kits, the lookout. It's so awesome. And like the way they do the head, it's like I didn't mean to take it off, but his neck bends a lot, and his torso can bend, so he can do a lot of poses.
Okay, so
But
yeah,
apparently, it's like an older kit, so I was kind of concerned with how it might come out because a lot of the stuff I like the Buster and Legao, are like old, and
yeah,
some old is nice sometimes. So I've been kind of hesitant to look into those just in case, but I want the Bakus now. I need at least two, so I have the trio.
absolutely. So it's interesting you mentioned that because like I recently sent one of my subscribers slash followers, friend of the channel. The I bought like this was ages ago. I bought like there's a resin conversion kit for the Buku that turns it into like a Nian Nian cat. And but I didn't know if it was for the newer version of the Buku or like the old one. So I had the old one. So I'm not sure. I was like, well, and he had the Buku anyway. So I was like, well, if it's for the kit you have, then there you go. If not, then here's the old one. But yeah, isn't it interesting that like some of these seed kits have not gotten a re-release? Instead, we get new seed kits thanks to Seed Freedom.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad to have too many new kits to like you have to get everything out, but do what League of Legends does. Occasionally remember you had that thing from several years ago who hasn't been patched even once or gotten a new skin. Just throw them a bone. They have a fan somewhere.
Well, speaking of old things that don't have a fan, you and I recently, because there was an argument on the Discord server about Evangelion, which you know obviously I'm the biggest mecha poser in the world as someone who never finished Evangelion. Um, I chalk that up down to like I chalk it up to the fans of Evangelion, present company excluded, of course, because, you are not, insufferable as some of the internet folks are. I guess it's the Reddit tier fans that put me off of it. But here's the thing, this has been a trend with me is, like, for instance, I used to hate the band The Killers because I couldn't stand Killers fans. I used to there's a ton of things that I hated because of the fans, but then I came around to it because it became less popular. Or the inverse of that, for instance, like my favorite soccer team, Arsenal. I'm a huge Arsenal fan. I cannot stand other Arsenal fans. They're the most insufferable and like obnoxious people I've ever met. So it goes both ways. Is like if
That
there's something that I love, chances are I don't like the people that love it as well. But that said,
that's fair.
you asked me for, permission to sell me on Evangelion and why I should pick it back up and finish it. Um, I don't know, like, how would you even phrase, like, a discussion like that? I don't even know how to couch that because it's not a debate. I'm not gonna, like, tell you you're wrong, like, I haven't watched it. You know what I mean?
It's trying to pitch a series to you.
Yeah.
So my first point is like I have this really cool hoodie. It's the plug suit. Is this selling it on you yet?
I have
Is
seen
it?
I have seen
Are
those,
you sold?
see, I didn't know that you came dressed for the occasion.
Oh, you should have seen the. I kind of went with the joke about it, and I said when I shared the link, get in the stream, Camille or Fa will have to. So
Uh,
okay, so my first thing, like I get not liking things because of fans. That some people take it a little too far, and that might actually be a point later. We'll see. So like I guess besides the fans, what do you know, or I guess what made you not want to finish?
well, I'm not a huge fan of the mecha designs, but that's no secret. I'm very much like if it doesn't look like a G1 transformer, I'm pretty much turned off by it, right? I'm such an old man in that regard. Like IBO and G-Quacks, like those are both series that like the initial mecha designs turn me off. They're too skinny, I like a little more meat on the bones. um and I suppose it has a
Yes,
reputation for
you
being
like a
like
mech with curves.
yeah, exactly. Thick mechs save necks, something like that. Um, but I think that, Evangelion has gotten a reputation
Yes.
for being like the Catcher in the Rye of anime, right? It's like the teen boy coming of age story, and I don't know. Ironically, it's like I sit here talking about how Zeta Gundam is like this, oh, it's all about Camille becoming a man, and then it's like I turn around and Evangelion's right there, like,
Basically. Okay, so it does do that. A lot of it is basically like Shinji growing up and really just dealing with his depression and a lot about like connection between various characters,
okay.
like his relationship with his dad, his relationship with those around him and such, just with giant mechs attached. I think
So far, looks
part
good
of
on
it
paper.
might be what's different is, yeah, I would say, like, compared, since you brought up Zeta, compared to that, there's a lot more, I guess you call it Kojima esque talking from the older characters, because it has a lot going on in world building, and it's cool, but it's not always necessary for the main theme to get across.
So is it kind of like a lot of
Like,
pontificating?
people
Like,
will try to explain sort of,
sorry, I
yeah,
cut you off.
because like, it's it's fine, because it's like, you could have a whole speech or essay about what the whole human instrumentality project is, and meanwhile, I can just be like, "It's Ultimisha's plan." That's what it is, just without the time travel. That's basically it. Like, I get you can do that, but there you can shorten it down,
Right, brevity
but
is
he's
the
at
essence of wit.
yeah, like, it sounds cool, and sometimes it is cool, but usually you don't need it. Like, you can f the stuff when they focus on the characters, I think, is cool, and I will say, because you brought up Reputation, and people say, like, it was depressing, and it can be, but most of that is entirely because of End of Evangelion,
Okay, so you think
which
that, like,
I'm
the
sure you
impression.
probably at least heard of.
Yeah, yeah, so that's definitely a case of, and I say this about Zeta Gundam all the time, because obviously it's like all it takes is one, crummy YouTube retrospective to create a meme out of something, and so, like, for instance, the whole Zeta, like, kill 'em all meme, I think that has kinda it's run its course because, clearly it's overused and
Right.
overstated, but I think that it's one of those things that, people latch on to that and kind of extrapolate it about the entire series, and I think that does it a disservice, and I think you're basically kind of suggesting the same thing about, like, End of Evangelion, where it's like, that might be a depressing entry in the series, in the franchise, and people extrapolate that reputation across all of the entire thing.
Basically, like, a lot of people jump ship, but that's the funny thing is that's kind of what Anno wanted. So, because because at the time, you yourself, bro, like, Anno is like a fanboy, the otaku type, like, he is super into things, he's a big fanboy,
Oh, yeah.
but that's also why he didn't defeat Evangelion, because as an otaku, he was like, "Y'all need to chill, there's a lot of bad things y'all are doing," and he is just like so End of Evangelion is essentially him just going in on otaku culture, at the time, at least. So
Okay.
that's why, like, Shinji is just such a terrible character in that whole movie, like, because he felt a lot of otakus at the time were, like, incredibly insular, they were just not, like they weren't actually putting any effort into anything, just, just kind of being a waste of space, essentially, and making things worse.
So it's like that old meme where it's like they hold up the mirror and say, like, "This is you." Like,
Dude, one part of the movie, they actually show like a camera recording the audience, and a guy in the crowd flips off the camera. Like he wasn't exactly subtle. And like if you've seen Shin Godzilla, he likes doing critiques on things. Like that's a critique on the Japanese government. This was a critique on otaku culture.
got it.
Like, you all love fan service, I'll give you fan service. It's not gonna be something you'll want, and then Shinji will never live down for the rest of his days, but you're gonna get it because this is y'all.
Do you think that that is, like, an issue with the sort of auteur, culture? Like, this idea of these great individuals that, and So, for instance, going back to kind of like you said with the writing, I think that young writers often fall into that trap of trying to sound more highbrow and more educated than they truly are, and that's where like the sort of like I think you described it perfectly as the Kojima writing. You need to decide whether or not you're going to be the kind of man that makes a difference in the world. Live your own story, Ryden. Like it's like all this kind of weird philosophical talk in the middle of something that's so ridiculous. That's like a young writer trap. But I
Yeah,
think the old writer trap is falling into the disdain for the people that like your young writer work. You know what I mean? Because I think Tomino does the same thing in a lot of ways. Um, Tomino has been trying to rid himself of Gundam fans for 45 years now.
okay. So it's funny you bring that up because Anna is actually that's why the rebuild exists because as much as he hated the fans back then, he doesn't like he it was more from a place of caring. Like he doesn't actually want to get rid of you. It's more like trying to give you a reality check. And
Yeah,
when he did the rebuild films, it is much more uplifting and positive. Even when it has the depressing stuff, the whole that's part of it is kind of showing like you you can go up and you can kind of fall back down, but just remember to climb back up that one last time
gotcha.
because it can still get better,
See,
which actually kind of fits how the franchise.
no, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was gonna say it's kind of like how the franchise is, because it's like the first two rebuild films is you're going up, then you kind of relapse in the third, then you come right back up in the fourth, which fits the whole kind of like battling depression theme. But you can look at that as the whole franchise too. Like the first Evangelion, it ended on a positive note. Then you crash hard in end of Evangelion, but then you kind of rebound with the rebuild series. Now you're in a much better place than you were before.
So it's almost like you're kind of like experiencing this growth at the same time as Ano as a writer is, because it sounds like going through phases, right? Like you have this young and idealistic phase where you commit to in what you would consider your triumph, your masterpiece, right? And then once you realize that the people who like your masterpiece mistook it or took it in a way that you didn't like, then you come back and it's, Empire Strikes Back, like we're going to take a big crap on you. But then after you realize that there
Mhm.
is redemption is possible, then it's Return of the Jedi and look, we're going to ease you back in. I'm sorry that I lashed out at you. Please forgive me. I still need to pay my mortgage.
Pretty much, yeah. I and it's the rebuilds are so good, man. I and okay, because this is part of why I'm really excited for like Chiqua or Chiquax. I I haven't decided. I'm just gonna call it GQ because I still think that sounds fancy.
It does.
Um,
Oh, and I should
because
point
like
out
he's
that that's
shown
what
he
brought up this
actually
whole
is a
conversation.
capable right. Because like he has proven to me at least between the rebuilds and the Shin series that one he has a great respect for the medium, so he's not going to like do something Last Jedi style with Universal Century. Like there's no way he didn't. He picked Universal Century arbitrarily. He loves that. He is not going to treat it wrong. But he also has deep writing, so I'm kind of curious. Like, what is the angle he is going to go with for telling this story?
Yeah. Well,
And
because
I'm
yeah,
also
people forget that he did, some design work in Char's Counterattack, so he's always been a Tomino fanboy, probably more so than anybody else.
right. Right, weren't you the one who brought up, like, in interviews, it's always Ano's being super nice to Tomino, and Tomio's just, like, kind of a jerk, and it kinda gives off vibes like they actually are friends, this is just their what's their relationship, like, one's really nice, one's just, like, dismissive, but they really care.
I mean, they both, yeah, they're an interesting couple when they're together because, like, obviously, Tomino loves the adoration from Ano, I think, but what I notice is that the 2 of them, when they're together, tend to get a little more trolly than than not. Like, that's when they start saying, the silly stuff that becomes memes later, talking about Camille's autism or talking about, what
Mm,
female body parts Char's mobile suits are based on and things like that. Like, those conversations always come up, which I think that in part has kind of soured me on Ano as a director too, and maybe that's unfair because maybe that's mostly coming from Tomino, but, the fact that that type of, behavior, that type of, like, locker room talk, if you wanna call it that, only comes out when he's in interviews with Ano, it's like, "Come on now. Come on now."
right,
I
right.
appreciate a good joke from time to time, um but don't talk trash about my poor
People
guy
are going
Yasuhiko.
Oh, maybe he's in on it too.
Maybe so, I
But
hope that he and Tomino are on good terms. It doesn't seem like, they've talked to each other in a long time, but I don't know. They're friends of mine that I haven't talked to in way too long, so
yeah, and it could just be we don't see it because I mean, we
that's
talk when I haven't been on your stream in years.
true. Yeah, and that's all the more reason to have you on, as I was like, "Man, if this is gonna be the only way that we can have a chat and you actually get to sell me on Evangelion, then this is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it in public in front of everybody so everyone can see what a McHypocrite I am."
Hey, I am down for that. And so, like, hey, if you want another re of appearance, I'm cool. But since we brought up GQ, another thing is I'm kind of curious about why Ano chose that since the rebuild films, their titles were actually meaningful to the plot. Or, well, to the characters. Like the first was you are in parentheses or the bracket thing? What's that called again?
Like the curly brace?
I'm I'm a writer, I swear. Yeah, we'll go with that. And then alone, because the titles for the rebuild, it's how Shinji feels at the start and at the end. So at the beginning of the first movie, he feels he is alone. And at the end, when he's finally friends with Ray, he has nerve. Now it's like, oh, he isn't alone. The second is you can, parentheses, not advance. At the beginning, he thinks he can, like, have friends again, get a better relationship with Gendo, and everything kind of spirals at the end. So it's like he couldn't advance his relationships. The third film, you can not redo. At the beginning, he thinks he can undo ending the world, and he's desperately trying to save and fix his mistake, but he can't. What's done is done. He has to live with the consequences. And it took me a while to get why the last film was called Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 because it's those two titles combined in how he feels. He feels he is alone and he can't redo anything, but at the end, he has he basically gives everyone a happy ending. He's not alone. He was able to redo everything, and he actually gave one of my favorite scenes was he went. Because okay, slight sidetrack. The Human Instrumentality Project. This is how Ava fans get you. We start with one thing and we swerve. So, so this is like the big main point of Evangelion. It's as I reference, it's like Ultimisha's plan. They want to basically compress. They want to erase individuality. Everyone will become a singular orange mass. There will be no boundaries, no pain, no suffering. Everyone will just exist in this singular consciousness.
Oh, so like John Lennon.
And sort of, but then but to decide that, it all depends on Shinji, as he is the catalyst, which is part of the problem because he brings up like that sounds good on paper. His dad wants to use it to get back to see his mom who died, but it's also like, are you really willing to sacrifice all your individuality to become part of this singular unholy mass? Like, if you do this, there's no individuality for anyone. You cease to be you. You become we for all eternity.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that myself.
And that's and that is the point. The first time Shinji is like, we should all be individuals, and that's why they do the infamous congratulations. He finally self-actualized and realized everyone can and should just be themselves. End of Evangelion, he is like, nah, I want us to be a we, but then he kind of backed out at the last minute, like, no, I don't want that. And then the world's made worse because he didn't decide to pick a lane, and now it's just him and Asuka on a beach, and she still hates her because of everything that happened before now. I think
Typical.
the literal last words in the whole film is disgusting, as she's just not having it. But then the rebuild, when it finally comes down to it, he does choose individuality, but the way they do it, it's like he actually goes to and talks to every main character and kind of tries to give them their own happy ending. Like he actually realized in all these films and anime, he never actually had a proper conversation with Gendo or asked what is he feeling or thinking because they just never got along well enough to reach that point.
As one
And
does.
Gendo was like, "Oh, hmm?
As one does. Is like, you just
Yeah, yeah." So they finally got to talk. Gendo got to see his wife and go to the afterlife. He went back to End of Evangelion, Asuka, and gave her a happy ending. It's kind of that's one of my favorite scenes because it's like literally that same version, like 20 years later, still laying down on that beach. She's finally been saved. So she's like, gets a happy ending. It's like, when I was younger, we used to have a crush on you, but oh well. And they kind of moved on. Ray finally got a happy ending after she was trapped, and he basically reset reality, put everyone into the real world. And the reason a lot of people didn't like the ending was he ended up with the new girl they added just for the rebuild series,
Mhm.
which I think is the point as well.
Right, you
Like,
mentioned,
for one,
removing fan service.
yeah, well, they did fan service you wish you didn't see in the second one, in the Evangelion. Now it's like, because Ava's known for the shipping wars, the infamous shipping wars, and there's like, nah, we're going with option four,
Yeah, exactly.
which.
It's kinda like that boys meme where Homelander is, like, introducing the new member of the Seven, and he's like, "I would like to welcome the Deep," and it's like, "Oh." He he just totally ignored the competition, and
Right, because everyone's always been like Asuka or Ray, or sometimes the little Karu corner just represent the Pride people, and then it's like here's a new girl, which I think fits because if it's a thing that he like just because he's been around like Asuka and Ray and had feelings for them as kids, that doesn't mean that's going to stick when he grows up. Because
well,
you're going to
behind,
encounter a lot of people over the years.
oh, yeah.
Hmm?
I mean, isn't that, like, the whole point behind, that 500 Days of Summer movie?
I think.
Is
I
like,
just know I can't think of any high school romances that last after high school.
I mean, I'm not gonna discount anybody. My best friend is actually, married to his high school sweetheart, so it does exist. It is rare, though,
Oh,
like you
that's
said.
awesome. No, okay. Then I recant my joke and shall say
No, that's just the one. I'm just saying
he went
that's
with the
one.
non. Uh, I'll- just to be fair, I'll still recant and say he went with the non-toxic option. Okay, because one is clearly abusive and the other is a clone of his mom. I don't think that should be happening. Just saying. I don't care what the clone rules are. That no, stop.
You're not down for a clone bone?
Not that type. Karu, I mean you're an angel. You literally are too far above him. You're nice, but you can do better, man.
Oh, I have this backwards, that's why it's
And
not on.
it's yeah, that is one thing I wasn't super big on the real grade. It's so much more confusing to figure out what goes where and how.
Well, I think that's user error on my part. I'm not gonna blame the kit.
I mean, you can blame the kid a little. Just a smidge, not a lot.
But
But
yeah, back
yes,
back to Eva talk.
my all for all.
Yeah, so you think that, but you would say that, like, these things are more relatable than not, like, the because it is dealing with some heady conversations, right? Some existential conversations as far as like the main plot, and then even with the romantic interests, there's a lot to unpack with the idea of uh fooling around with a clone of your mother. There's definitely like an edible thing going on right there. But like, do you think that they're handled
Yeah,
in a tasteful and tactful way that yeah.
I would think so. Like, I think that's why Shinji is just one of my favorite anime characters, because I can associate at least with the first and the rebuild version. We're just gonna cut out the end of Evangelion that just basically its own beast entirely.
Give it the Last
But
Jedi
like you can
treatment.
associate with like yeah, like I will acknowledge you for the overall theme, but I do not support some of your actions within. You have awesome fighting, but and that second impact scene is so good, but I'm not backing that Shinji though. I'm going with the one before and after because like I think he's one of the only times I can think of, at least in stuff I watch, where they have a depressed character and it's actually showing them actively going up and down. It's usually it's like you have your depressed arc, then you're just back to normal. It's never like, oh, they have a good spell for like 20 episodes, then it's like, oh, they're back to like questioning everything and just not doing super great.
Yeah, and that seems to be something that most media gets wrong about depression in general is that like you never see the appropriate level of, I guess, deception, because typically depressed people are not going to be crying and moping around. Like that's kind of like uh I don't know how to describe it. Like true depression, people are going to put on a happy face and like no one else is going to know that they're depressed, or at least they're not going to have the instinct to say like, "Oh man, I wonder if something's going on with them." It's like that suffering typically happens in private, which is how, you end up with these stories of like, I never knew that things were so bad, and it's like, yeah, because like true depression, or at least
Yeah.
in my experience, people who are truly depressed, they'll go through like manic episodes where it's like they're almost ecstatic all the time, and they'll tell you about these great ideas that they have, and they're like, "Yeah, I mean, let's do this," and then you're like, where is this excitement coming from? And it's like, it's an episode of mania.
Right. Like, it's good you brought that up because, like, outwardly, especially like in the first anime, Shinji doesn't really show it. He's quiet and he kind of meek and introverted, but it's not like he never really cries, or if he does get emotional, it's usually during a battle, which makes sense.
Right, that's fitting.
But a lot of the time he's just quiet or he's withdrawn into his, yeah, or he's withdrawn into his headset where he has his music. So it's like you can see it's there, but it's not like really screaming at you.
Yeah, typical teen behavior, really.
Yeah, exactly. You think he's just being a normal teen. And that's actually another thing I like because people focus on the sad stuff, but not like the fact that there's a scene where he literally has to hype himself up like I must not run away. Like he knows he's scared right now. He doesn't want to do this. And he really probably shouldn't be doing this, but he's actually forcing himself to make that effort to do it anyway and improve, which is part of what gets some people on his side. Like, despite all the issues he has, he still does it, except for in the Beacon Galaxy. And like,
Well, that's
um,
that Banagher spirit,
yeah,
right?
right. Like, I don't want to, but I'll still. As Goku said, if I don't, who will?
Yeah, well said.
Just without.
Far less screaming involved, I think.
Um, slightly less screaming. I'm still questioning why they have this whole like G Gundam, you're feeling the pain your suit feels thing. Um, I'm sure there's an evil reason for it, but I don't see a sane person making that like, an included feature.
Yeah, I can imagine, like, who's the Apple CEO, Tim Cook or whatever, getting out and saying, like, "With this new iPhone, not only are you going to see the cyberbullying on social media, but we're actually going to inflict pain on directly onto your pain receptors every time you get an insult on Twitter." Um, just like, why?
uh,
But,
well, I mean, that would stop grifting.
uh and I understand, like, from a plot perspective, like, why that is important, in order to visualize these things, but yeah, you do need something to kind of suspend disbelief for why that exists in the first place, right?
Yeah, I mean, the ocean's blood, right? So I can't really give them too much crap. It's just a funny thing to think about.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, so, but I think that's might also be the problem with Ava. You have to actually somewhat think and be able to understand what they're trying to say. Otherwise, it might come off really pretentious outside of the fighting scenes. It's definitely a pretty anime, but it's not really one of the things you can just go into blindly, I will say.
Okay. So, and maybe that's my issue is that I haven't given it a fair shake. You know, a lot of the reputation and the pretension that I've gleaned from it is more, like I said, it's projected onto the whole franchise instead of just being appreciated for the small portion it is. Which I think I said something similar about, when I was editing an anime music video, I guess technically is what it was. But I was rewatching Gundam Wing and I was like, okay, there's maybe like 5 or 6 like super edgy scenes, but like I think that it unfairly gets painted as like this melodramatic series when it's really not that bad. It sounds to me like because Evangelion came out around the same time, it's like, okay, so that was just the style then is like everything had to be super edgy and teen drama and if I can appreciate it about Gundam Wing, then I should be able to appreciate it about because you get the same thing, right? Like I talk about it all the time, like Trace Kush Renata being this philosophical monster, um, you know, constantly pontificating about the dangers of automation and the human spirit. He's very much like a humanist villain. Uh, how is that any different from what you would see from Evangelion, right?
I think that, yeah, like Trace definitely does kind of scratch that itch, but there's also only one Trace. There aren't like six Traces doing the talking.
Fair point. Fair point.
But I do think a lot of things like memes might give them an unfair reputation or make things overblow certain aspects, I will say. Like I think you brought up the Camille kill, or like they might think that from that one scene, Camille is just a genocidal monster. Even though it's just totally out of context, this one instance that's like, huh, we should probably do something about that.
Yeah, that's true. So then that will be my 2025
I believe
resolution on top of everything Gunpla and,
so.
um, game development related stuff. I will make it a point to go into Evangelion with an open mind and not hold its reputation against it. Because ideally, right, is like technically I
That's
should
all I
watch
ask.
Evangelion
Also,
before GQuax comes out because I assume that I will be able to appreciate that show much more um, completely if I understand Ano more as a director, as a writer, etc.
I think that would help. I would say watch that or if you can see like Shin Godzilla at least. The Shin Ultraman I know is free on Tubi, which is cool, but the Shin Ultraman and Kamen Rider were way more fanboyish than Shin Godzilla. Like I think you get a clearer grasp on his style from Shin Godzilla
Which begs the question,
or
why not just
Ava.
call it Shin Gundam?
Because
That would be too easy.
because this is his own original thing.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
I mean, it, I think if he did a Shin Gundam, it would just be the original Gundam remade within his style. But this is he's at least trying to do his own thing, so it gets a name. But I will say, before you watch, make sure it's the original cast for Ava, not the Netflix one. Conveniently, they
Okay.
got them to do the rebuild series as well. Huh?
I said, okay, I will, but yeah, go on.
Like I not I voice acting is hard. I'm not gonna say that Netflix is bad, but they did change things and they just don't have as much impact as the original. Like they it just feels like they put more soul into it. Or,
Yeah.
watch Japanese. That works too.
Yeah, that's probably gonna be my first option, at least to make sure that I don't do the thing that I always complain about people doing with Gundam, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna throw it on in the background and like not pay attention very intently to what I'm watching. That's one thing that I have to give to the subtitle crowd is at least like when you're watching something in subtitled, you have to watch it intently. You can't be like looking up and down from your Gunpla table,
Right.
or at least you shouldn't be. I mean, it
So
would be kind of dumb
that's
to miss
he should
it.
yeah. So I will say you should focus on Ava because like the visuals are so good. Like especially in the rebuild, like he makes very pretty things, like even outside of the action. They are just so nice to look at.
Okay.
Um,
So then you've convinced me to watch it,
that's all
but
I have.
don't convince me to like it. You can't make me.
Hey, all I ask is you give it a try. If you don't like it, that's fair. Just give it a try.
Yeah, that's all one can do. All right, so we've got
Yes.
this guy coming
That
together a
means my
little bit.
stream is.
What'd you say?
Ooh, is that the shoulder?
Okay, so
No.
this part's kind of tricky because it's like you install the arms on their side and then like bend the peg joint in. Look at that.
Right. That was trippy.
And I assume it was similar
Yeah,
for
I'm
the
leaving the
freedom.
real grades to you. Yeah, that's why I'm leaving the real grades to you.
Let's make sure that the elbow joints work. Good,
Let's
good.
go.
It says in the instruction manual to test the elbow joints. So, oh yeah, the little arm slides. That's pretty sweet. These are the things that make real grades cool, or the like moving armor
That is a
panels.
cool feature. Yeah, that is cool. I'm just lazy.
And he perfectly fits inside the torso section of the mat. And that
Oh,
should take
perfect.
care of.
I mean,
So I ended up building both arms at the same time, so this page is kind of moot.
oh, perfect. So
Um,
that just should leave the head
and
and
now
the
for
myriad
the
of weapons.
yeah, maybe I won't finish it this stream because like I mean shoot, that was only 4 pages of the manual is the mobile suit from page 9. Okay, well the last 2 pages are instructions, so that's not too bad. But yeah, we'll do some head and
You
some
did hear a
shield
phone
action.
call.
Let's see,
Oh,
G12.
I mean, I'm not opposed to coming back for a third stream. Hint, hint.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. especially after we get some more news on this Gundam
Yeah.
miniatures game, because so far, a lot of people jump into we so what we need is actually, and I hope Adam hears this, is like instead of a Gunpla mat, we need the official Gundam jump to conclusions mat, because if there's anything that I've gleaned from the conversation going around about the Gunpla miniatures, it's that like everyone is just assuming that they know how the game is going to work. What, like, who produced it? Like, I assume it's going to be cool minis, or like it's like, and I'm guilty of it too. That but I think that it's just funny how that works out.
So what you're saying is we need a Gundam Explained bingo board.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Since you brought it up, are there any minis you hope make it?
Oh, well, I mean, naturally, I hope that we'll see a Zeta Gundam, um, and I'm sure we will. I mean, I think that it's going to be chock full of the usual stuff. Like you'll get the Wing Zero. Well, you already saw the Wing Zero. Was there an aerial in the set? I didn't see one. What? But you brought up a good point. Is there was a
Yeah, it
Capul?
was the lone. Yes, that's why I thought I'd bring it up because it's like we don't show off IBO, we don't show off G, who's having an anniversary, or Double O. You get Kapul, truly the most iconic unit in all of Gundam.
It kind of reminds me of like what happened with
And
with
on the
Gundam
website,
Evolution.
they
Oh, here we go. Shout out to Legion here in the chat for giving us the answer.
okay,
Ariel, Capul, Sharzaku, OG Gundam, and Seed stuff. And there was an Endless Waltz Wing Gundam. Uh, oh,
yes.
820 is the
And
clear
we
piece.
got an Archangel as the first ship type thing.
Yeah, how do you feel about the
Now
ship
that's
types?
it. Also, on the website, I am excited. I know if they have rules like X-Wing, where it's by cost, I probably won't get to use many of them, but I will own many of them and just have them on display.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's actually okay. So, oh yeah, also full Legion says full armor unicorn destroy mode. I remember that because that one looked cool.
Yeah, so it's like it really is the who's
But
who
yes,
of like the popular suits, but it does have a bit of that Gundam Evo effect, right? Because with the Capul, it reminds me of like how they had like randomly the Marisai was in was in Gundam Evolution, or like,
yeah,
so I don't know, it'll be interesting. Or at least, this is just the first launch
no,
set. There's obviously going to be more. So I don't know.
no. So okay, I got three things now because we're also because you brought up the assuming thing. We're also assuming this is the entire launch set. This might just be the first, like the tease, because they say it's a teaser trailer. These might just be like a small portion of the first wave,
Oh
which
yeah,
happens to involve Kapul.
exactly.
um,
And that's why I say, and
because the
again, this is a
second,
deep cut. Like, I think that most people slept on this game when it was popular, but like Heroescape really, to me, revolutionized like the board game miniatures sets, because the master set came out at the same time with like all, like everything came out in like one wave. It was the master set, and then you had all the boosters. So it's like even on the master set box, you see miniatures from all of the different boosters. Like, hey, you also could get these guys. But the master set did have enough minis for you to play at least games with 1 to 4 people. Like, you could actually draft armies for enough for 1 to 4 people. Um, so yeah.
right, Star Wars Legion was like that too. Because I got the Clone Wars expansion for obvious reasons, and it came with one Republic army and one uh I'm terrible. My brain immediately forgot their name.
The Trade
Separatist
Federation, or
Army.
yeah, separatists.
Yes. Yes, because I remember like CIS, I was like, wait, what's that stand for? I
Yeah,
used to
because it's like
love
the
them. How am I
Confederate of
forgetting on
Independent
stream?
Systems, isn't it? I could have
I
sworn that
think
they were called the
so, yeah.
Confederacy.
I mean, there's definitely the Trade Federation that was part of it, but
They were just
they've
one.
gone by multiple names or get called multiple names. So it's like which are we going with today?
The Droid Army.
Um, but I still had two things. But first, yes, the Dozo Zaku being in Gundam Evil was a shock, but it was an awesome shock, I think, Legion. Because that ship, they put so much love into him. Like that one highlight pose with him and all the Zaku's, and they go up and it shows they're standing in the Xeon logo shape. Like that was cool.
Yeah, you can tell that the
And
devs
because
for Gundam Evolution were like big Gundam fans, but unfortunately, it was not a very good Gundam game.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I already told you some of the things they could have done better, and other people have told you that too. But we'll focus on the minis for now,
Yeah,
because I'm not sure if you noticed on the website at the bottom they had a little banner of stuff, and it did include an SD picture, so there might be SD minis as well.
which would be kind of funny because then it's like you're starting to get into like build fighters territory with the amount of like crossover, right? Like it's not just like Dynasty Warriors where you have all the different universes interacting. You have like different scales interacting.
Right. I I hope what they do to scales is really only just like regular stuff in the SD, because I'm not sure if I want to get like a master grade freedom that's just like double the size. Like
Yeah,
let the ships and other mobile armors keep that spot, you know?
agreed.
But, and because we brought up the minis, I've how so I asked this on Discord, but nobody really answered. How, or I guess what is your process to figure out what exactly goes on your display? Because I'm certain there are like kits you have that just aren't on the show on your wall to be shown off.
Oh, that's a good question. For me, they just have to be complete in the sense that, you know, there's not any like for instance, the Zawu that I made, like the Zeta Bawu combination suit is like 95% done. It's just that I broke the backpack, and so because the backpack doesn't attach anymore, I need to fix it, and so
Oh,
it's not on display. It's in a box.
okay. That makes sense. 'Cause I was curious, since I know, obviously there's space, and I've been trying to figure out how to what display on mine because I'm running out of space. Right now, I have like the most recent ones for obvious reasons, and the
Right.
stuff I got from you is all inside a box on my display so they don't get dust.
That's
So,
I might invest in some of that gun primer makes that finishing solution for model kits that you can like spray on them and brush on, and it's supposed to be it's like an anti-static to repel dust.
interesting. I will have to look into that as well because I don't like dusting these things. I feel like I'm going
Oh
to
yeah.
break something. or blow something away.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and I can already tell, like, even just
Okay,
from.
so now
Oh,
that
go
I
ahead.
see, keep going.
No, no, you're good. I interrupted you.
You win this round, streamer, because Legion said that the Ifrit knocked you should since him is on display in his room so all visitors can see its glory.
As well it should be. So now this is going to pose an interesting challenge. Is so I recently installed my first LED into a real grade, which was the yellow LED that I put in the real grade Gundam 2.0, right? This represents probably the most complex looking uh LED setup array that I'm going to have to do, because props to them for making these all clear pieces. And maybe I need to push the camera in just for this occasion so that we can just look at what I'm observing here. So it's all clear pieces inside of this. I actually need to trim that out down a bit. So yeah, you have clear pieces in the eyes, the monitor here, and then in the little I don't know what you'd call this, the horn on the top of the head.
Yeah, it's a horn.
And so in order to
No
get.
antenna, but horn taps.
Yeah, yeah, command horn. Again, it goes to, Atherin being the Shar Aznable of Seed is like, obviously red mobile suits. He has a Zagok. Well, at least now he has a Zagok. And then he has command horns on his Gundams. Uh, I assume that. Let's see, what colors are we looking at here for the three? So we've got green eyes, blue monitor. What color does the is that blue as well?
I have no idea,
So that
because,
means I'm
I
gonna need
mean,
a blue LED for each of these two spots and then a green LED in the head. But like, where am I gonna fit an LED in this thing? I'm gonna have to call Pencil Knights and ask him.
yeah. Is there a micro LED?
I mean, I think that the LED itself could potentially fit. I think I've got one on my desk here somewhere. Let's see.
Because with how small it is, I don't think anything corded should be remotely near that head.
Right. So like,
Oh, Legion, he got our back. The giant fin on the head, it's a light blue, so it's lighter than the regular blue in the eyes.
so you tell me I got to get 3 different colored LEDs for this thing. All right. So this is a yellow pack, so not
Real grays are real expensive.
they are. So like the LED will definitely fit in there. I'm thinking what I might do, and I've seen Pencil Knights do this, where it's like instead of putting the center to the to the install, like kind of put it at the base so that it illuminates like upright through the. I don't know if the light is probably. So yeah, if I put the light facing this way and then it just like illuminates this way and kind of lights up the entire thing. But there's no like it's not a part that I can disassemble, so it's like do I just drill a hole in there and then stuff it in there and call it good? That will be the challenge. But I am committed to putting LEDs in this
Maybe.
thing now.
I support it.
Especially
And I'm
now I
totally not
saw.
at all biased.
Oh, and by the way, thank you, Legion, for displaying the Ifrit Noct. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you enjoy that kit. It's a good one. Where was I? Oh, I forgot to put on the V-Fin.
Dedicated to doing LEDs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that.
I'm definitely dedicated to do
The most
or,
important
yeah,
part. Oh,
committed to doing LEDs because, obviously I will give this suit the biggest glow up I can as it was a gift from you. So,
oh, making me feel special. Beyond being the first guest of the year, which I am totally going to gloat about.
oh, that is a very good point.
Yes.
Yeah, I've not had
I've been
any guests
thinking
on
about
this
that. It's
year.
like, oh, yes. I stolen the spots.
Well, it's like what you were talking about the other day when you said like, that there's movies coming out this week that they're already saying, "Oh, this is contender for film of the year." And it's like, "Wait a second."
Yeah, like it's 2 days. Huh? I mean, technically, you're the best film of the year, but like, are you though? Are you really though? Meanwhile, you have Sonic 3 just staring at you in the background.
I know, man. That's Sonic cannot be stopped. Cannot be stopped. Um,
No, he can't, and I'm glad. But before I forget, I think because you brought up after being the Char, I do like that while he is a Char, he isn't using a pure red. I like his kind of like the more maroon purplish red, and not just straight Johnny Ryden crimson.
no, I agree with that. And I think that that's truer to like the Zaku because like the Char Zaku is not red; it's like pink. Um, but I also like that Athrun doesn't.
Yeah,
What's that?
we don't say pink, we say lightish red.
Like shredded donut. That is pink. Um, but I also like that
I
Athrun is like one of the Char clones that doesn't like wear a mask. And I know we're probably people are gonna be like, he's not a Char clone. He's not a Char clone. He's a totally unique character. And it's like, no, I think that he's the only unmasked Char clone because it's like he has everything that makes him a Char without
okay,
being the typical without being the meme Char. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have the mask. He doesn't have like the
alright.
all that stuff going on. And then in the second series, he like becomes full good guy, right? Just like Char in Zeta. So maybe he's the Quattro
Yes, I
clone.
was actually going to say. Yeah, I was gonna say he's more of a Quattro clone because he doesn't have a mask, but he does wear shades as Alex Dino.
It's true. Okay, this looks
So
freaking awesome.
he chose to clone the cool Char phase.
Exactly. He made the right choice.
Yeah,
All right, I
and
think we can
just
do the
okay,
backpack.
cause oh,
Yeah, I think we'll be able to do this.
so cool. So I know Justice was one of your favorite C designs. What did you think about Immortal Justice?
I love the Immortal Justice. I think it was kind of stripped down from the Infinite. Like it looks a lot more basic, but I don't mind that. Why? What was your thought?
Oh, cool. Oh no, I thought it was cool. I was just thinking. I mean, since you like Justice, I was thinking, does he like Immortal? If so, I can add that on list of things to get him. Because
No, please,
I,
please,
I,
no more
I,
kids.
I know I made the joke. Yeah, because it only came up because I know I made the joke about forcing you to read the Power Rangers comics. But
Oh
then I
yeah.
saw the omnibuses are just terrible, man. Like,
Oh
they don't have one that just covers everything and including Shattered Grid. It's here's like here's this arc after it, this other arc after it, here's this one arc before it, here's a singular issue for Shattered Grid. It's like, do I have to start figuring out the issue numbers so I know which ones to get now? Like, this
that's a
is too
shame.
much effort.
I'm surprised because isn't like Shattered
Like,
Grid incredibly popular? Like, why would that not be in several different omnibuses by now?
right? It's just so weird because I don't know. They just don't do. Like, I tried to figure it out, man. It was such a mess. But I could also be Dark Horse has spoiled me on omnibuses because all of theirs are so good.
That's fair too. But yeah, I mean,
Like,
oh, shoot, I
I
haven't read
it was so.
what's that?
You haven't read what?
Oh, I just haven't read comics in like ages and ages.
That's fair. Like, I went back when I started to do reviews for that website that I jumped ship from. But since I had their methods, I decided to just keep reading from time to time. Some of them are there are some cool things now, and a lot of the indie stuff I do like. Kyle
Okay.
Higgins is so good. Like, Radiant Black is his personal superhero thing, which is cool. Um,
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about like, the IDW, the Image, Dark Horse, anything that is like those not big two, but that covers things like Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, Transformers. Um, yeah, like if it was a popular franchise in the 90s, then chances are uh there's a wildly successful comic book series.
you are right for most of those you listed. Like, I am the only because Legion's in chat. He'll probably have words, but like the only Transformers comic now I read is Skybound, and it is. I still don't know how I should feel about this, and like on the one hand, I don't hate it, but I also don't really like it. But I'm also like, it's Transformers, so what am I?
Well,
I
I
guess
saw
morbid curiosity is what keeps me.
I saw people like waxing about how there was like this characterization of Optimus Prime, and I think this was the Skybound comics, where it's like because somebody was posted the screenshots of it on Twitter, and Optimus Prime like steps on a deer and then has this whole like, oh, I feel terrible for having killed this poor defenseless creature. Like, I may be a warrior, but I do not harm innocents. And it's like, okay, this suffers from the same thing because I saw a lot of people praising it. They were like, oh my gosh, that is the best characterization of Optimus Prime I've ever seen. Granted, true. I accept that. But here's my problem with it, and this is the same critique that I had with the Acolyte, is yes, there's no denying that it's cool to see a lightsaber turn blue to red in the way that it did in the show. Cool scene. The setup for it and the explanation behind it totally conflicts with existing lore on how lightsabers are turned red. So that was a problematic thing. So in the same way, when that happened in that Transformers comic book, Optimus Prime steps on a deer, cries about it. Yes, the crying about it was good characterization for Optimus Prime, but how big do you think Optimus Prime is? Have you seen a pickup or like a truck? Like, he could not step on a deer. At best, he could like accidentally kick the
Uh,
deer. It's the deer would be half the size of his leg. How did he step on a deer And why does no one ask this question? It's like, again,
Okay,
the moment
so
is great, but the
that
second
is
word is terrible.
Skybound, and okay, so Skybound Optimus is a very big boy, so that's why he missed the deer. It's one of those times where he's on the larger end of the spectrum when he probably should not be that big.
I know that scale is kind of relative when it comes to the Transformers, like, whatever they call the pocket space where, Megatron shrinks down into a gun or whatever, but, like, I don't know, that was just silly to me.
Yeah, I can see that because it's just one of those things where they don't really have a consistent like he should be this big, so they can fudge it a bit.
Yeah, I know.
And
It was just frustrating to me. I'm like, that it goes back to, like, the verisimilitude thing that Adam and I talk about a
that
lot.
oh, yeah, I'll need a reference because I'm having a my brain is buffering moment right now.
Oh, just meaning, like, things that kind of, uh that suspend your that break the suspension of disbelief. It's like, you know,
Okay,
you need a reason for why Prime is that big that he can step on a deer, and if so, then why is he turning into a truck again? Like, then, like, if it were like Armada Prime,
right.
where he turns into, like, a sci-fi vehicle, that's one thing. But if you're looking at classic G1 Prime, come on now.
Hmm, okay, so I'm trying to remember if there was anything like that because that was definitely the first time they had arrived on Earth. I don't know if they adjusted their scaling afterwards because this was like literally 5 minutes after their arrival, and he's just admiring the beauty, and he accidentally steps on a deer because he didn't know how fragile things were here. So now I might have to reread to see if he like changes his size or if he's just still scaled for Cybertron.
Yeah, maybe I'm being
Got
unfair.
me thinking about this. I never thought about it before.
That's me
Oh,
asking the
it's
tough questions.
interesting to think about now.
Well, yeah, because, like, even in the original series, like, when they first
See
crash
the
land on
problem.
Earth and, like, Skywarp, this is another reason that Skywarp is my favorite character, is that he was the first one to wake up on Earth, after crash landing and, gets turned into a jet, and then he's the one that pulls Megatron into Teletran 1's, like, little beam, and Teletran 1's flying around doing his, like, "Explore, explore, explore." But people talk about all the time how it's like,
You
"Oh, yeah."
say that just uh, so I okay, so I'm gonna have a dumb reference, but have you ever seen Invader Zim?
Yeah, yeah, I remember that show.
Because you say explore just made me think of Teletrend 1 being like the house. You want to be in this great, he's just a space just screaming, explore, explore, explore as it flies over the land. So literally everyone can see and acknowledge it.
That it's exactly like that. Mm.
But the Skybound has other issues. Like, I know I brought up Evangelion can be depressing with reason. This feels like it's a lot of things are being dark and gritty just to be dark and gritty.
Mm,
Like, apparently, at the start of this story, Megatron's already dead or semi dead. I just know Optimus is rocking his arm right now.
interesting.
And it's like, what did we miss? I get that you're doing a war and action thing, but like, bruh, How are we? How are we? Frame one, Megatron's dead. Like what?
Yeah, that's an interesting twist.
Like we didn't even load into the server, and he already got capped.
Oh gosh. The way that this backpack is assembled is very
Is that a?
okay. I think we're
It's
okay.
being finicky and flimsy.
I think we're okay. It's like I just don't know exactly where it fits in here. If it's like again, this is one of those things where it's like I'm so glad that they did away with the inner frame gimmicks.
Yeah. Yes, I hope the Justice's pack is better than the Freedoms. Like I like it, but some of those feathers are just so flimsy, like they do not want to stay in place.
Oh really?
Which I get because yeah, like you want to have them somewhat movable so you can do like different poses where they're open or not. But it's like I had to keep applying extra pressure to try and keep it to stay in place since I don't want to glue it because I want to have the option to change the poses.
Right. Yeah, you
It's
don't want to
I that's like after that I was like I want to stick to just high grades. If they have fancy wings, the Justice shouldn't have that problem, but I'm like I don't want to deal with that again. Like I have Destiny on display and his wings are just in a pack in his box. Like well, granted, part of it is so I can have it in the trust base you sent me, but it's also like, I, your wings are better than Freedom's, but I still don't want to fight with you. Call me lazy, but I don't want to fight with you.
Well, and that's one of the issues I've got with like here I'll once I get this on I'll show you. So I was recently hyping up uh the 1/200 scale HCM Pro Zeta, but the wings are on these very very flimsy ball joints, and so I've been trying to figure out a good way to keep them stable. And actually even the tail binder is kind of flimsy too. The legs the legs are flimsy, but only uh because of the transformation gimmick. So when the legs swing out, there's like
Right,
there's a hinge joint in the leg that swings like that. So it's like it seems like the leg is flimsy, but it's only because it's this part that keeps swinging out. So it is a bit of a kibbly mess, but
right.
I still
And
appreciate the level of detail that was put into it.
yeah, it does look cool at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I don't want to fold that in just yet then. Make sure I
Hmm.
those those. All right. So I mean that's like 50% of the backpack right there.
Oh wow. I was thinking it had to be put off to the next stream because I figured it'd be a lot more intensive.
I
Or
probably
maybe
spoke
it's
too
just
soon.
deceptive runners.
No, I probably
No.
spoke too soon because I'm like, wait a second. There's all kinds of other stuff that's going on to this. So like we got to put this guy on the top.
Yeah, because I see that pile and that ain't a small pile, dude.
That's true. So I might have to pick this up another time, but that'll be okay because ideally I'll have you and Adam on, and maybe Maybe by then, we can actually
Ooh,
have a proper Evangelion conversation. I'm sure that he will have opinions as well.
yes, I will have my hoodie ready for the run back.
Okay, so this is an interesting, like, fold-out mechanic. It, like, kind of rocks in and out
Ah,
instead of just
ooh,
sliding.
I'm guessing.
Oh, go ahead.
Interesting. I was gonna say, I'm guessing because they want you to be able to have it as the wings, but also if you wanted to just ride it, so it has the two modes.
Yeah, I mean, it says it's got, like, a whole, so this is just the backpack portion, so I'm sure that it clips on there. But yeah, there's, like, a whole transformation sequence for getting it into the ride-on mode. You gotta,
Right,
like, flip
because
the
oh
wings
yeah,
out.
because there's right, because I think it can even like lower the cannons over the shoulder because it's always partnered up with Freedom doing those cool shootout things.
Oh, yeah, and honestly, that was, like, my favorite, I think part of the reason I like the Justice so much is because of playing it in, Dynasty Warriors. Just the ability to, like, his
That was
yeah, his finishing move is to swing out and just ride on the wings and shoot indiscriminately.
yeah, that was cool. He, it's funny because he probably like my brother because he liked the Justice as and Atherin as well. Like whenever we play, he'd do that, and I would be Freedom.
Awesome. I'm assuming,
Um,
like, this kinda sits in the
yeah,
skirt
I
there,
need
but
to.
I don't wanna force it. We're just gonna have this in standard backpack mode.
Yeah,
That's always my thing with real grades, it's like, I don't
yeah,
wanna push
you
anything.
can. Right. That's part of why I think I never got my full Vernian to be the full Vernian because I don't want to push too hard on anything to get the core booster to work. So I'm just like I'll just I like fighters. I'll just leave you like this. We 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 are. It's a little sad, but I'm still have a win here.
Exactly. We take what we get. Sammy, get out of here.
Yeah, we take the. Oh, I got the cat cameo.
That is like, yeah, I can't stream anymore without it. It just it has to happen every time. But yeah, we will pick this up another time.
I made
This
the
will be the
joke, but
first kit that I finish of 2025 for sure. So thank you for that, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on Eva. You know, clearly, maybe I judged you too harshly, but we'll find out. Um, yeah, for those of you who hung out with us this afternoon, thank you so much. Definitely go check out Ultronimus's page down in the links below because obviously you're going to get more Gundam, which who doesn't want that? But you also get more fun sci-fi games that some of them like I didn't even know were games. Like you put me onto a lot of interesting games that I'll never be able to play because obviously I don't even have time to finish my Gunpla.
hopefully you can live vicariously through some of the stuff I play because I like finding indie games or just lesser known or forgotten mech stuff because there's a lot of cool stuff out there.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, yeah, just like the different genres, like that we've talked about, like not the not like the horizontal shmups that you typically see, but like like spaceship shmups, What's the one I'm thinking
Oh
of?
yeah, if there's a fighter on rails
Oh yeah, On Rails is probably the
or
right.
just
Yeah.
like a yes, I know exactly what you're thinking of then, because that was the first full series I finished.
Was it Readout?
Yes, Red Out Space Assault. That one was interesting until we got to those evil racing stages.
Well, yeah, it's like, I'm not playing this for this. Oh man. Well, thank you for hanging out with me during
They
this
get
build, and
they get more.
thank you for sharing. And oh, of course, thank you
Thank
for
you
of
for
course
having
providing
me
the
and
tip.
letting me rant. And you don't have to thank me for that. You already know why I sent that.
Right, next you're gonna send me a real grade Eva just to get me to watch Eva. Don't do that. Don't.
I'm,
Oh my gosh.
hey, don't worry, I won't. I'll just send you a hoodie.
Hoodies are acceptable, especially with how cold it is today and this week. But yeah, thank you so much, man. I hope you have
Like,
a good
not
rest
gonna
of your
lie.
weekend.
Good. Thanks. You too.
And chat, have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of your weekend. We will see you on the next one, and we'll have more. Hopefully, we'll have more details to talk about with this Gundam miniatures game. Until then, catch y'all later.